Hi, everybody. This is Tom Libby, co-founder of one of the co-founders of Smarketing CONNECT, and you can find us at smarketingconnect.com. And with me today on our podcast is Charlene. Charlene is with Charlene Ignites, but I won't go into too much detail of her bio. I'll let her do that for herself, and we'll jump right into the first question, which of course is, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so a lot of people know me as Charlene Ignites. That's my personal brand. And under that brand, I'm a speaker and I write and try to do anything I can to help make sales fun and easy. And I'm also the founder of Firewalk Sales and Firewalk Sales School, where I do sales training. And again, similar kind of mission, really take the pain out of learning how to sell. And then also I do some sales advising with companies, really helping them with their strategy, structure, the compensation planning process, anything to make the whole sales operation run more smoothly and make the salespeople feel great about working there.
Yeah, awesome. That's a mouthful. All right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So tell me a little bit about the companies you work with. Like what do they usually look like?
Yeah, usually they're small to mid-sized businesses, and sometimes larger companies will have products or divisions that sort of look like small companies, and
Yeah.
and so I'll get in there too.
So so small companies, can you define that for us just a little bit? Just because the idea that like the government views small business as one thing and kind of we view small business as another. What typically is the size range that you like to work with?
Yeah, I would say sort of, it could be anything from 1 million to 10 million to even $100 million from a revenue perspective. But typically the sales teams are, 10 or less salespeople.
Good to know.
Sometimes there's only one, or sometimes I'm working with the CEO trying to hire his very first or her very first salesperson. And really, I try to look beyond the demographics. It's really more about a psychographic of someone that has sort of grown organically, or a division that might have grown organically, but then all of a sudden they've either flatlined or something's happened and they realize that they just don't have the right strategy in place, or they don't have great sales processes, or their sales messaging needs work, or they don't have the right team in place. And so all of those things are sort of small to mid-size
Yeah.
business problems, but are not always an indication of revenue or size company.
Right. Good. Good. I'm glad I asked you that follow-up question. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So in your opinion, I like asking our Smarketing Connect experts this question because there's a lot of tools out there that are available to small businesses. And we all have our own kind of opinion as to what ones are the best or the must-haves, and kind of wanted to give you a chance to talk about what you think is a really important tool and a must-have in the sense of small businesses, and give us a kind of an idea why.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to give an answer like, having the right mindset is the number one tool, and that
Yes.
is true. But I
Very.
think for the purpose of your question, really the number one thing is some kind of a CRM system. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be a free or very inexpensive system like Nutshell CRM or Pipedrive, but really some way to track activity, track where the sales are in the sales cycle, keep notes, create opportunities, tasks, etc. Because revenue, even though that feels like the goal, revenue is actually the lagging indicator and the activities are the leading indicator. And at the end of the day, we have a lot more control over the activities, but only if we know what's actually happening, when it's happening, and we're keeping track of all that in a fairly systematic and clean way that gives you information you can actually use.
Professional after my own heart. That's usually my first statement too. Is if you're not using a CRM, you really should be. And most times, I don't care what it is either. It's got to be something, except for an Excel spreadsheet. So one follow-up question, and and you don't have to go into details or explanations, but do you have any CRMs that you would recommend to our listeners of the smaller scaled companies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Nutshell CRM. I've done a lot of work with them. I don't have like an official connection to them really,
Yeah.
but I just really think they're great people, very easy to work with. I also partner with a company called Sales Acceleration,
Yeah.
who has strategic partnerships with a couple of CRMs like Pipedrive.
Sure.
And also a lot of people use HubSpot if they're wanting to integrate with other marketing activities. I think it's a great tool for connecting sales and marketing.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So I think you touched upon this a little bit, but I wanted to see if maybe we can go a little deeper as to what kind of challenges that the small business owners bring you in to solve, right? And I understand it's revenue and sales, but we have a couple of minutes, so if you want to go into a little bit more detail as to what that looked like, or what they face initially that gives them a reason to call you.
Yeah, I would say, personally in my sort of on the consulting side of my business, a lot of what I get are owners, founders, CEOs who, they've been the main salesperson for a long time. They've really grown the business and they're so passionate about it. And so in their mind, they think when they start bringing in a sales team, it's just going to be them times however many people they bring in, and they're going to scale and grow, and it's going to be exponential revenue, right? But what ends up happening is that that doesn't happen. They really struggle to get the right people in those seats, to get them up to speed and like sort of translate what's in their mind to, how things need to be sold. And also typically there isn't a good CRM or there isn't a sales process. They don't have like a real strategy besides let's sell more.
Yeah.
So really trying to figure all that out and create a really sort of scalable and sustainable business. That is where I spend a lot of my time.
Awesome. So I don't think I have a follow-up question to that one. How's that? That was pretty
There you
good.
go. Yeah, that's okay.
So I like this question too, because it gives us a sense of us kind of knowing that we're not the be all end all, right? We know that we can bring in partners and us, especially people in the sales realm, we tend to sometimes bring in marketing partners or somebody for something very specific of a tactical nature. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody if they were looking to bring in an external agency or an external consultant? What would you ask them to look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's two parts. One is really know what you're looking for and what you need. What is the problem you're trying to solve? As I mentioned, a lot of times I'm helping people figure out how to maximize leads, for example, and how to get more meetings and close more business. But they may not be getting enough leads to do that. And they might want to create some kind of a funnel so that instead of just salespeople trying to make cold calls and doing lots of proactive outreach, they also have things coming in. And that's where I actually do work with a lot of marketing agencies to try to turn on that lead engine and kind of get things moving from that perspective. But I do sometimes have people who say they want to get more leads or they want to do more marketing, and really they're getting enough leads. They just might not be the right leads, or they might not be following up with them, and that's a different problem. And then I would say specifically if, someone's looking through or meeting with different marketing agencies or sales consultants, just really trust your gut. Like, at the end of the day, we're people doing business with other people. Yeah. And if something doesn't feel right, even if someone's convinced you that they're just more of an expert than you are and they know what they're doing, I don't know. I think really trusting your spidey sense on who feels like a good fit and who's a good cultural fit for your organization, who really understands you. All of that for me really trumps maybe, looking for someone who has exact experience with your type of company and your industry. Sometimes it doesn't matter as long as, they really understand your challenges and they do have a proven track record of solving the problem that you're trying to solve.
Pretty awesome. Good. So, all right. So I love this question. I ask this question in a lot of different environments, but not for this particular purpose. There's no psychology behind it. There's really just a little bit of a fun, because there are some other psychological reasons you ask this question in different environments, right? So this is not one of them. I really just want to get to be a little fun and have people humanize you a little bit and say, so Charlene, if you could be a superhero, who would you be, and tell us why?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And it's an easy answer because I would be myself, because my son tells me all the time that I am a superhero and I am his superhero. And it is actually something I've written a little bit about. My son's a teenager now. He'd be horrified that I was sharing this right now. But all growing up, that was just the thing he used to always say to me. And it resonates so much with me because my dad was my hero. And he passed away in 2010. And I really always think of him as my superhero. And it's exciting and sort of fulfilling for me to think that I can be that for my kids too.
Okay, I'll let you cheat on that one. I won't pressure you to pick one because just because it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
um, so here's another question. This is, I think if I remember correctly, this is our last question, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of pay it forward and promote somebody that you've worked with in the past, or you think would be a really good, guest on this podcast. So give you an opportunity. Who would you think would be a good guest here, and tell us a little bit something about them?
Gosh, I mean, I know so many great sales and marketing people, and so it's almost hard to pick one. But I really, lately I've been doing a lot of work with John Anderson, and that's Jon, no H, Anderson with Side Hill Group, and he's the one that introduced me to sales acceleration. And I'll tell you what, I think he'd be a great guest for you because he's absolutely hysterical. He's a total hoot, and he's like a revenue operations genius. And where I love to like get in and sort of boots on the street and work with the salespeople, and I still do strategy stuff, but it's really about the people and the culture and the mindset. He's like the beautiful mind when it comes to, sales strategy and revenue ops. And he can just see everything with such clarity when it comes to things like forecasting and compensation planning and all the stuff that other people might find a little boring. He is the superhero of that area.
That is awesome. So we'll connect offline, and maybe you can give me his contact information, and we'll see what we can do to get him on.
Cool.
So here is Charlene's information. Charlene is at the website you see on the screen. I'm not going to read it all to everybody. You guys can see it there. But the one question I will ask you, Charlene, is aside from what's on the screen right now, is there something else or some other way that people would get a hold of you or look for you, or something else in a way of a promotional type thing that you want to talk about real quick before we hang up here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy to find online. I'm everywhere as Charlene Ignites, which is why I keep that personal brand I've been building for about 15 years. And also, I did just write and publish an Amazon bestseller called The Email Cemetery, where bad sales emails go to die and how to resuscitate yours. And it is available on Amazon, but I do have a website called emailcemetery.com. And it really hones in on all that sales messaging and how to make sure that your prospects and your leads don't ghost you.
And I will throw my 2 cents in here too, because I saw you do a presentation on this book. And I sat in on a presentation you did on this book, and I thought some of the not feedback, but some of the tips in that book were amazing. And if they're smart, they will get that book and they'll read it and they'll actually adhere to it, because some of those things were brilliant. So Charlene, thank you so much. This has really been great. And I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. And thank you again. And I will talk to you at some point soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.